Hello, I'm Michael Wilson and welcome to the programme. Industry observers are predicting that as CIOs get ready to meet increasing demands for organisational agility, it's the desktop that'll be the next area of the enterprise that will enter the cloud. And this model will help cut costs and create new efficiencies. But is that all? What about the opportunity for innovation and business growth? Well, I'm delighted to be joined today by Dave Pritchard, Fujitsu's Business Development Director, and Ian Bradbury, a desktop solutions specialist at Fujitsu, as we try to understand more about this evolving area of IT. Welcome to you both. Dave, could this possibly be the end of the tech refresh for the IT department?
Yes, it really could. We really are moving into a whole brave new world where technology refresh cycles are getting longer and longer. We've come from a world of technology changing every 3 years, 4 years. We're now into a world where we can change the desktop devices like thin clients maybe every 10 years or even longer. This has been enabled by whole changes in the way technology is working and different technology stacks. So we've got things like virtualization technologies that enable us to separate the hardware device from the operating system and enable us to separate the operating system from the applications itself. So now these three elements can run on completely different time frames. So the hardware can stay there for much longer, running different versions of operating systems, whatever, over a much longer period of time. We've also got new business models appearing. So instead of buying your desktop and having those assets there and running those assets, you can now move to different business models like managed services for a desktop where you pay a price per seat and that gets managed for you over the life cycle. And we're also, as part of this brave new world, moving to a world where we have cloud services and as a service. So you can get the desktop experience delivered out of the cloud and then combined with other cloud services for mail, for whatever else you need, in a whole new environment on the desktop. So yes, it really is changing.
What are the main drivers for this need for tech refresh?
I think the drivers are the drivers that have always been there. The hardware is getting dated in some cases. It doesn't run the latest operating system, doesn't run the latest applications, so they need to do something. We've got a whole new environment coming with Windows 7. Windows XP comes to end of life for support in 2014. That will force people to move forward onto Windows 7. So we see the operating system, again, is a driver for moving people forward. It's the user experience. People need to have a good user experience, and some of the older devices aren't delivering the experience. And we're also seeing people wanting more flexibility. So they want to be able to get the same experience they do in the office, at home, a different site they're visiting. You talk to most people, the experience they have at home is far better than the experience they get in the office because the office system is so out of date. That's got to equalise at some point.
Ian, when you're talking to customers about tech refresh, what are their main concerns?
I think, Michael, the concerns, well, the biggest concern, as always, is money. And I think it comes back to perhaps the largest near tech refresh that we had, which was when everybody moved from Windows NT to Windows XP on the desktop. And that cost a lot of money, particularly for very large organisations. So we're talking £100 million plus for some organisations, 3 years of a migration cycle. And companies are looking now at the move to Windows XP and thinking, I don't want to spend that kind of money now unless I get some significant business value back, as well as the move to the new experience on Windows 7. So I think that's probably the most critical element. But there are others as well. I mean, we talked briefly about new models, but there are also new types of users. So the Gen Y users that are out there now coming into the workforce, they have their own devices. They have the iPads, they have the Macs, they have all sorts of different things that they want to use. They're very comfortable using at home. They want to use the same things in the office. They're very comfortable with collaborative tools. And the CIO today has to support that type of model. Otherwise, you're going to lose a lot of very good talent in the workplace and a lot of very good productivity mechanisms that these Gen Y users have adopted.
Dave, given all these upcoming challenges, what does the brave new world actually mean for people?
Well, I think the key thing it's going to offer people is a better user experience. They're going to be able to have enhanced mobility, so they can access the same desktop experience, whether they're in the office, whether they're remote, whether they're working from home. So it'll give them that freedom and flexibility of how they work. The other thing it'll give the employers of these people will be things like enhanced security, because instead of having data on the device, we've now got data stored within the data centers where it can be managed, where it can be backed up, where you know where it is, it's safe. So I think there's the key things within there. The other things that companies are looking for, of course, out of this is reduced costs, especially in these austere times that we're in at the moment. So moving to this environment can actually help you reduce the cost of the whole IT landscape, which has got to be a good thing these days.
What does this brave new world actually look like then?
In the long-term vision, it's of everything, everywhere, access to your device wherever you're going. What we're trying to move to is not a world where you move to the device, it's a world where the desktop moves to you, which is a very different world to the one we're in now. So wherever you are, you can get access to this one desktop experience. You can do what you need to do.
How does that apply, Ian, to perhaps direct customers you've already dealt with?
So I think we're in a transitionary phase at the moment, moving towards the type of model that Dave has outlined. If I look at a number of the large customers that we have, both in the private and the public sector, and also some of the medium-sized customers as well, they're all roughly the same type of approach, although every single customer environment is very different. But you can see typically in an enterprise that maybe 65 to 70% of the workforce is able to move to a thin client type model, which is where the processing and the data is stored centrally. It's transmitted out to a device, typically a thin client, but it could also be a GenWise own consumer PC, and they use it in that way. They don't need their own dedicated PC. And this is one of the key, I guess, focuses for many of these enterprises is they want to move away from the current one-size-fits-all approach where you have a dedicated PC across the workplace. Everybody has the same type of PC, which is expensive. So if you can move to a model where everything is centralized, different device types are used for different types of users. As I say, 65 to 70% of users should be able to work in that way. You're then left with perhaps 15% of the users needing still to have that dedicated PC, perhaps because of the applications they use, which need that processing power. And the remainder are mobile workers with a laptop device. So that's roughly the model that certainly big clients in public sector and big clients in private sector banking are moving towards now.
Dave, for a existing customer or potential customer, what are now the next steps then?
I think really the next steps is to start the discussion, because there is no one size fits all, as Ian I think has already said. Every customer we've talked to has a slightly different environment. They have slightly different requirements. They have slightly different workforce doing slightly different jobs. No two companies are really the same. So the next thing is to really start a real in-depth dialogue about what is it they're trying to achieve, where are they in the maturity cycles of what are they using today, and how do we help them move to the next steps. It may not be right for everyone to leap directly for today from where they are straight into the cloud, but there are steps they could take to move them in that right direction. So it's a discussion.
Why does it need doing right now?
Okay, so there is an opportunity, I guess, to look very closely at this, because as Dave has already mentioned, the support for Windows XP runs out in 2014. Now, if you go back to what I said about taking 3 years to do the migration, clients of Windows environments, anybody who buys Microsoft products and puts them on their PCs, should be thinking now about how to move to Windows 7. And probably more importantly, if you're going to spend some money moving to Windows 7, how to get the best back in terms of business benefit. And that's really what we're talking about today.
Ian, Dave, thank you very much indeed. Very interesting. So, whatever stage of your plans for a tech refresh, you've had some thought-provoking insight into how you could enter this brave new world and maybe enjoy your last tech refresh. Thanks very much indeed for watching. Bye-bye.